Good morning, everybody. I think we'll do a little like update or rollout or something. Today, I got up early, and I got up at about 2:30, and I was doing my prayer time, and it's a system on Monday, and my mind like just is totally, I guess, gone. I said, but I got about 4 hours of work to do, which I did, and it's interesting when I've been just rambling somewhat. You always have to hook up a lot of new, uh, the passwords and everything, because when you reset your computer, it's like buying a new one. It fixed the little problem I had, but about 4 hours of time. And so then I relink all my websites. And then YouTube, when you relink to that, you sign into each one again. But then they made a change. I knew they were making changes. But it used to be for people to do videos, you have like a dashboard, a video manager. Okay, that's now missing on your new. So I had to Google. There's like a few tutorials. I don't like watching a 2-minute tutorial. I'd rather read something, and it basically, you hear the kid in the back. Well, for some reason they thought it would benefit, but now everybody's missing like their main function on their video side. And of course I found it, corrected it. But it was just one example, and you hear the kid in the background on the tutorial saying, they had nothing better to do, whether it's YouTube or whatever. So it would be like watching your TV, the old way we used to watch media. And all of a sudden we have a new thing now. You don't turn your TV on anymore. You don't put a channel on there. You somehow go in your yard and do 3 flips and type JavaScript in the air, and that's kind of, they say, but this is a new thing. No, it's not. It's people with too much time on their hands. The discussion on the news. I didn't check the news today. I used to like to do a lot of my rides in the car, but I got to do my brakes again. I mean, they're gone. But that ride, when I take these rides up to San Antonio, whatever, I have to be occupied all the time. And so, it's like in my mind, that's another thing now. You see that? You gotta get those brakes, and I do a lot of my own work, mechanic work if I have to. So, and I like to walk, but recently I've been so tired that I'll go to my walking spot at about 3 or 4 or whatever, and I'm almost unable to get out of the car. And I thought, well, maybe I could just rest in the car. No, I'm unable to do that because I don't feel well if I'm not. So then it's like, until you drop. Walk until you drop. That's how I feel at this moment. Now, I have some friends of mine. I saw a couple that are back in town. I didn't stop. I know some of my friends, they're Christians. They've come to know the Lord throughout their life. And some of them are still battling with whether it's alcoholism, drugs, whatever it is. And I also recognize in the whole field of recovery, there are a lot of people who, and I don't mean to condemn them, but in their recovery through drug addiction or whatever, they've managed to get on like prescription drugs. And I don't condemn you for that, okay? I'm on nothing. And really what's happened in some of their lives, which is fine, is the medication that they were formerly addicted to, this whatever else they're on, it's now because they ruined their psyche. They ruined some certain aspects of their psychological and physical makeup from abuse. And so this other drug, whatever it happens to be, it just fills the need. They feel balanced. The dopamine level in their mind, the little pumps that shoot dopamine get damaged from abuse over years and years. And so this other whatever medication, and then they feel okay. But then I see some of my friends who they're still struggling. Then they were clean for so many years. And I noticed they'll just battle back and forth until they die. And they might be tired for 10 more years, 15 more years, and then die. And then they'll rest. And then we see the tragedy, the big news story, once again. And the debate in the country. What would the honest debate simply be? Everyone has points on both sides of the aisle. And if you eliminate a particular weapon, which yes, ban them, I don't care, the assault rifles. And the other side says, well, the functionality is the same as, yeah. But then you'll have a 50-something man by the name of Paddock. And maybe someone else, if you raise the age, or they'll kill people with a pistol, and then... So the debate is simply, it's really a Second Amendment debate. There was some person, some liberal, who honestly said, look, that's the debate. He said the liberals have to just, he's a liberal. And he said it's not a matter of an age limit and what type of weapon. He basically said, like, we're going to do like, what is it, Australia. He said that's the honest debate. The elimination of weapons. Now, of course, that would never pass, and I'm not advocating it. I'm just saying, he's basically saying, you know, you could change certain things, but if people are going to get a hold of guns in general, regardless of their age, you'll never stop people from shooting, killing. And then, of course, the families. I'm sure some of those families prayed, tried to help their children, doing various things in their lives. And now their new struggle is the rest of their life, the trauma, the parents or siblings of the dead, and then to struggle to forgive, to struggle to, maybe they deal with their own other problems, and so now they got a constant, never-ending war that they will now battle with until the day they too die. I haven't read, I read one psalm last night, but Ecclesiastes, which I am reading through. But it just talks about, somebody even made a quote the other day, I forgot what it was. And so now you can survive in your life. The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a wounded spirit who can bear. And so what you'll manage to do is sustain your infirmity. You'll manage to survive. My brother, stepbrother, this, of course, was a suicide in the family, so it plays on me more as far as these many cases, and you wonder. But he was about my age. Lucho. And he told Lydia, his mother, this happened now about, I don't know, 6 years, 8 years ago. But he had certain battles, certain struggles. I'm familiar with some of them, the others I'm not familiar with. But he kind of said, I remember this, he told his mother, he said, I'm ready to go be with Jesus. And then he shot himself. And my father found him. I don't know if he shot himself in the head or in the chest. And my dad, retired firefighter, attempted to do mouth-to-mouth and all, but it was a closed casket. I think he shot himself in the head, but... So he got tired. Now, do people in life get tired? And in the simple, of course, no one condones suicide or killing or murder or any of those things. But do people get tired in life? Yes, they do. And then they say, I'm going to finish the course. And then there'll always be some battle. You hope to get to a point where if a person only feels well if they're actually moving all the time, driving, walking, whatever, and then that person gets to the point where he's dead tired, where he's unable for various things. You say, well, then you could just sit and not, oh, no, you're unable to do that. So it plays on your mind. Could you stand all day? Could you not eat all day? I ate once a day. Last night I ate. I said, well, you think that would finally make you tired enough after you eat late at night and you wouldn't be waking up at 2:30 or again? So this is just, I'll upload this. It'll be a test for my little, fixing the sites again and going through those types of things again. The debate that we're going to have in society. I don't want to keep talking about the media issue of you had other indictments on Mr. Manafort. And in the simple thing of the whole Russia, all these things. These indictments against Mr. Manafort, who worked for the Trump campaign, all of these things are basically any wrongdoing that he did within his life. Connections as a money guy, advocating for Ukraine and various types of things, nothing to do. So it just became, let's find stuff and go back. But the initial thing that we were embroiled about in the country was illegal collusion with Russia, though it's still okay. And yeah, we found that. And look, it's not a conservative view or a liberal view. We were looking to see if Mr. Trump had contacts with his campaign people to have contacts with Russia to influence the U.S. election. Meaning, did he pay 100,000, 20,000, 50, his people paying cash to particular people in contact with Russians? Of course, that would all be illegal. But we found out, as far as we know, none of that happened. No cash, no money, no contacts. But we did find out that the Democrats did do that. I think they spent $13 million, and they hired a firm, Fusion GPS, and a British spy who was unregistered as an American lobbyist, who had, if you will, illegal contacts with Russians. And he was paid by Hillary and the DNC. I think it was $13 million. Then he was put on the payroll of the FBI. So these were actual real contacts that got information, and this man was not, his name was Steele. He was not registered as a lobbyist, a foreigner that's going to actually do. So actually you do have, in that one particular thing, the uncovering of Russian collusion that had to do with the campaign, having contacts, getting information, and then that being disseminated to obtain warrants on a man in the Trump campaign. That's the story there. But the media is not. And it concerns me. It's an injustice to go back, whether it's Mr. Manafort or anybody that was associated with Trump campaign. And if you don't have real context, like I just described, which you have it on the Democratic side. But if you couldn't find any of that, which they could not, then you go back and look at all the dealings, tax dealings, lobbyist dealings, and you go out to indict. That's not what this was supposed to be about. But our society's embroiled in this. And it's still, these are roads that they go down. So this isn't the one for today. We'll see what happens today. In all of the battles that are waging, even by top media companies, to target people. They've done this with news organizations, have targeted particular independent organizations, and they're utilizing their voice to silence opposing views, and that's a constitutional problem that has to do with free speech, because they are indeed doing that. So that's something else that comes up in the midst of all of this, where we're at in our time. I like the aggressive liberals. I was a supporter of Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, and I still am, because what his organization did, though a lot of people don't like him, it just shined light and it used internet. I'm a supporter of Andrew Snowden, the NSA leaker. I think he's still in Russia because he also did the same thing. I'm a supporter of the group Anonymous. When you have a younger generation that says what we're going to do is expose corruption, we're going to use internet and all these things, to me, they're people that are willing to pay a price to expose what they deem as corruption. And these corporate media heads, and this corporate media machine, particularly in this country, they're not even on the same level of these others that I just mentioned. Because they're willing, and they might cross lines at times, but they're willing to say, now this is the corruption we found. Whether it's with one side of the aisle or the other, this is the corruption we found. And whether you speak out on behalf of somebody that was murdered or a minority. There was one story, and I have not mentioned it, but she is a Mexican lady who I'm defending. I forget the name of her site. She's an independent blogger out of Laredo, Texas, where you've seen me go into Mexico, which is over the border, into Nuevo Laredo. And El Gortita, I forget the name, it's kind of a funny name, but it's like Laredo News. And I just caught this article last week. So she's sort of like does independent news for Laredo when people watch her site. Now there's national articles written on this story, what happened to her. But she scooped the cops in Laredo. I think it's called Webb County. She scooped them on a story. I believe it was a DPS guy or a Border Patrol guy, but he committed suicide, vehicle crashed, and she does live news on her Facebook. And she released the information of the man who committed suicide and all, like a news person, but she scooped the news. They went to her house, charged her with felonies, went through her computers, phones, laptops, put her in cuffs, and they're charging her with releasing information or something. And this is a big story, actually. There was some articles like in Washington Times or whatever, this thing. And she's still online, she's still on Facebook. And I thought, now you went after that lady in an area where you have tremendous crime right there on that border. But you deemed that she scooped you on a story, you deemed that criminal to the point where you put your hands on her, put cuffs on her, dragged her out of the house, and still have charges on that woman, trying to put her in prison. And I was mad. And I looked at the name when I read that article, that sheriff's department out of there, whatever county it is. I was mad. And she's a Hispanic Mexican lady. And I said, you treated that woman with disrespect because you held her to an account of a drug dealer, of an El Chapo or whatever. And she's simply providing a service. Okay. So, this is number one.